collaboration, immediacy, belonging, and CBI in call. Table of contents. This article explores 4 influential concepts in computer-assisted language learning: call, collaboration, immediacy, sense of belonging, and content-based instruction, CBI. Drawing on established research, it explains how these concepts contribute to learner interaction, social presence, motivation, and language development in online environments. The discussion also highlights practical principles for implementing CBI and fostering meaningful communication and student-centered learning in technology-enhanced language education. Video of collaboration, immediate and belonging. This video is not ready yet. Collaboration. In recent approaches to education, collaborative learning is receiving a considerable amount of attention. Abrams, 2001, Beatty and Nunan, 2004, Palloff and Pratt, 2005. Beatty and Nunan, 2004, define collaboration as the manifested actions a learner takes in partnership with others and can be evidenced, for instance, as an inclination to listen to others' opinions and suggestions so that they could be discussed and integrated into further actions, namely decisions on how to complete a task. Although cooperation and collaboration seem to be interchangeable at first glance, there actually exist slight subtle differences between the two. According to the comparison made by Beatty and Nunan, 2004, cooperation only requires the learners to work together. Nonetheless, the learners are not necessarily expected to have negotiation or interaction with each other to complete academic tasks. On the other hand, when it comes to collaboration, the learners are highly expected to maximize their interaction and transcend their individualization in partnership with each other to fulfill learning tasks and projects. Immediacy. When it comes to the immediacy factor in CMC, temporally, a distinction is made between synchronous and asynchronous communication where respectively interaction takes place in real time, and the learners are not necessarily online simultaneously. Simpson, 2002. The concept of online immediacy affects the level of interactivity in virtual venues. Baker, 2010, Braddock, Bowers and Courtwright, 1979, Cobb, 2009, Swan and Shea, 2005, 2002, because research on social presence in computer-networked communication is directly related to research on the concept of immediacy in traditional classrooms. Lefebvre and Allen, 2014, Swan and Shea, 2005. Social presence and student interaction in online language learning. Immediacy is referred to behaviors that are intended to decrease the psychological barriers among communicators in a discourse. Hiltz and Goldman, 2005, Lefebvre and Allen, 2014, Swan and Shea, 2005. When an immediate response is expected but not received, a feeling of low interactivity is created. 2002, page 297, and the level of social presence declines in return. Different forms of CMC have been characterized by their immediacy factors, in which the most immediate form is synchronous communication, namely real-time video conferencing, IRC, and multiple user domain object-oriented MUOs, etc. Photos, 2004. On the other hand, in asynchronous communication, e.g., emails, electronic bulletin boards, and the World Wide Web, learners analyze educational materials with a delay. Photos, 2004. Gudea, 2008, believes that one of the reasons why e-learners are so fond of IRC is that, in this synchronous type of communication with a high level of immediacy, the students can quickly build relationships with each other because they can feel there is actually a real person responding to them immediately. Sense of belonging. Employing constructivist principles, CMC environments could be designed to provide multiple perspectives and real-world examples, encourage reflection, and support collaborative construction of knowledge through social negotiation. Gunnar-Wardena, 1995. However, such learning environments may promote collaborative learning, which involves the active construction of knowledge through social negotiation only if participants can relate to one another, share a sense of community and a common goal. In other words, the development of social presence and a sense of an online community becomes key to promoting collaborative learning and knowledge building. Gunnar-Wardena, 1995, page 164. The e-teacher should take cognizance of this point, that students' perception of their use of CAL materials and information technology for their classes might differ from their own. As a consequence, an online thoughtful English teacher is supposed to inform their students of what they are doing and why they are doing it. Wiebe and Kabata, 2010. Their study revealed that the more the e-teacher informs the students about the actual why of taking online courses, the more the students would develop themselves to the course, for example, by logging into their accounts on language learning blogs. Content-based instruction, CBI. Content-based second language instruction is built upon the foundation that SLA could be facilitated through the medium of subject matter content or meticulously selected themes and topics. Gaffield Weil, 1996. Because CBI could motivate the L2 learners by developing a sense of accomplishment in them through exposing them to authentic content material, i.e. not material adapted for foreign learners in the target language, which provides a departure from more traditional, linguistically driven syllabi. Chappell and Curtis, 2000. In addition, applied linguists believe that language and content should not be treated discretely, as language is just a communication tool for mapping content to expression. Chappell and Jameson, 2008. CBI is the integration of subject matter content with language teaching aims, in which the form and sequence of language presentation is determined by content material. Brinton, Snow and Wesch, 1989, as cited in Brown, 2007, Pessoa, Hendry, Donato, Tucker and Lee, 2007. CAL and content-based instruction. With regard to CBI, Yun, 2011, argues for the efficacy of CAL in comparison to traditional systems of education because CAL can provide the L2 students with hypertext and hypermedia features through which the learners can easily have access to a vast amount of information in a nonlinear and interactive fashion through multiple types of resources, such as text, graphics, audio, video and animation. Tips for teaching content-based language with CAL. Chappell and Jameson, 2008. Page 196 propose the following tips for teaching content-based language with CAL. Learner fit in CAL materials. Chappell and Jameson, 2008, advise teachers to seek CAL materials with appropriate learner fit. The term learner fit refers to the level of language difficulty and the level of the content whose appropriateness guarantees students' engagement and learning. Concerning the role of CBI in second language teaching, Pessoa et al. 2007 discuss that insufficient research exists on how this type of instruction can practically be perfected and implemented by second language teachers, although a substantial amount of professional literature theoretically argues for the myriad advantages of CBI. In this regard, Brinton and Holton, 1997, propose a specific educational framework for CBI lesson planning, which they call INTA, Through, and Beyond. The INTA, Through, and Beyond framework. In this framework, through the following three stages, it is attempted to maximize students' comprehension and mastery of content. Principles for implementing CBI. With the aim of increasing student autonomy, the e-teacher can adopt CBI because, according to Brinton, 2003, the CBI classroom is learner rather than teacher-centered. In such classrooms, students learn through doing and actively engage in the learning process. They do not rely on the teacher to direct all learning or to be the source of all information. In keeping with the various roles taken by learners, the CBI teacher needs to assume some specific roles. For instance, he/she may serve as the primary resource for students, particularly where issues of language or culture are concerned. The teacher is also supposed to serve as the organizer of tasks, the controller or facilitator of student-centered activities, the prompter of student responses, and the assessor of student efforts. Brinton, 2003. The following principles have been proposed by Brinton, 2003, to implement CBI in language classes. Communication and course content in CMC. Tella, 1992, regards course content in CMC as themes and topics. In this regard, as stated by Tella, 1992, the role of the communicator, writer and reader, or sender and recipient, is of primary importance because these roles complement each other, and the language user needs to adopt all of these roles through abiding by the use of initiative and free negotiable topic choice. According to James 1996, nowadays, one of the major concerns of CAL practitioners is lack of sufficient communicative materials as the content of the course, which requires the teacher to consider how to implement appropriate exercises so as to achieve the desired interaction, rather than simply assume that groups of learners working on a common task will automatically communicate. James, 1996, page 18. Teacher talk in content-based instruction. Pessoa et al. 2007 carried out a qualitative study based on grounded theory and interviewing as the main instrument of data collection on the significance of teacher talk in CBI. In this study, 2 language teachers implemented 2 different methods for teaching English, one focusing on academic content, conversational features of interpersonal communication, and implicit error correction of language forms, and the other, focusing on manipulative practice of language form, explicit error correction by the teacher, and non-topically related exchanges with the students. The findings indicted that the students of the former teacher performed higher in the literacy assessments because it was clarified that the implementation of classroom discourse features and higher student performance are technically interrelated. Challenges of content-based instruction. While CBI might be widespread in both second foreign language teaching, according to Snow, 1998, as cited in Dalton Puffer, 2007, it is not still completely clear where exactly it fits conceptually in the language teaching scene. Besides, as argued by Chappell and Jameson, 2008, teaching the particular language that the learners truly need for their work and education is categorized according to one of the biggest challenges that English teachers nowadays are confronted with. References. Share this post.